Good morning, everybody, or afternoon or evening. I'm going to make a nice short video on graphing square root functions. So let's start with the basic square root function of all. Y equals the square root of x. The thing I want you to remember, guys, whenever you do graphing, you're going to learn all these neat little shortcuts or tricks. But the one method that always works is making a table. Okay, so I'm just going to make an XY table here. And what numbers do I fill in here for x is really a very important idea. And a good way to start, guys, is I look where my variable is, that x variable, and I ask myself, what makes it 0? What would make it equal 0? Well, this one's pretty obvious. What makes it 0 is 0. So that, notice over here, guys, that's what I'm going to put in my table. I know I'm going to put in 0. Now, from there, I just count above and below that value, at least 2 or 3 numbers. So I can go 0, 1, 2, and 3. And of course, if I go the other way, I'm going to go -1, -2. But I'm going to stop at -1 for a reason, if you don't know already. And so let's see what happens here. If I start by plugging in -1, I'm just going to go in order right here, okay? When I plug in -1, don't I get the square root of -1? Uh-oh. That's a big question mark, right? There really is no real square root of -1, is there? So that's why here we're going to put a little infinite or undefined. Undefined meaning it doesn't exist. There's no such thing as a square root of a negative. Okay, let's now plug in the 0. I'll alternate colors here. So does everyone agree the square root of 0? Well, that's of course 0. All right, let's plug in the 1. If I do the square root of 1, that's 1. Okay, let's now do the square root of 2. Square root of 2, again, you need your calculators, 1.414. I'll just round it off to 1.4. Let's do the square root of 3. Well, the square root of 3 is 1.732. I'll round it off to 1.7. So now we're ready to graph, guys. You could add more points. Like, for example, if we added 4, we could get actually the square root of 4 is 2. Why don't we go ahead and do that? And now we're ready to graph. So here we go. Again, you're looking at our table here. We know 0 is 0. We know 1 is 1. I'm just plotting the points, right? We know 2 is 1.4. So 2 about halfway there. It's kind of hard for me to do this on this iPad, guys. Keep that in mind, plotting points accurately. And then finally I'm going to do 3, 1.7, and 4, 2. So 3 is almost at 2, 1.7. That may be a little bit high. But 4 is definitely 2. And as you can see, this is our square root function. Okay? And the thing I want you to remember, guys, is our square root functions always will look like that arc. It'll always be an arc. It'll always just be an arc. That's what a square root function will always look like. Okay, so that's something you ought to try to actually memorize. What does a square root function look like? It looks like an arc. But in conclusion, what did we learn? Hopefully we learned at least that we make a table. How do we determine what values to put in the table? Well, I started out with 0 because 0 made it 0, right? And I just counted up and down some values until I got enough points to get a good graph. Again, this is what a square root looks like, guys. Try to memorize that. Until next time, bye.